Okay, so we're going to be installing this new retainer sleeve for the throwout bearing. So now that we have the transmission out, we're going to take out the 11 of these 13 millimeter bolts that go around the casing, and then we'll be able to pull that front plate off. So with all of these bolts out of the way, you can now set the transmission on a box here, and it's going to separate right here. So just take a hammer.
Yeah, that just wants to fall right out.
So now you can just slide the input shaft off. It does interlock into those gears, so just be careful on that. And if you're putting a 26 spline one in, you would just slide it back on. So now to remove this sleeve, you're just going to hit straight down on it. Sometimes these need a little persuasion, so a nice 35-pound weight really comes in handy. Okay, so we're going to be putting the new retainer sleeve in. It was just in the freezer for a while, so it's really cold. It's going to help shrink it down just a little bit. So we just set up 2 tires to hold this so that this can drop down in here. And once you have it leveled out the best that you can, we're going to drive it in as straight as we can. Okay, next we're going to use a 1 3/4 inch socket to drive the new throwout bearing retainer sleeve in. We have a socket that's the exact same diameter, and we're going to go ahead and use our weight again. Just give it some nice gentle drops right onto the top of this and pound it so that it goes straight down in. So from the bottom side, if you can hold it as straight as you can, while somebody else taps it from the top, it should drive it nice and straight. You'll want to go in with a Scotch pad and clean the mating surfaces perfectly so that you get a good seal. You're going to do that both on the transmission side and the back plating as well. Okay, so we ran a nice bead of silicone around this to help seal it off real well. Remember, we also did clean the mating surface there and here really well, so it's going to have a nice clean seal. Next, we're going to make sure that we have the shim and the race for each side. You have one for the input shaft and then one for that bearing down there. So they are different sizes so that they fit in perfectly. The input shaft race is a little bit bigger than the other one, so that's how you can tell. But you want to make sure that these are in nice and straight like that. Remember, you have the angled side right here because they fit perfectly on these 2 bearings.
Perfect. Got it.
All right, so with those all in there, we're going to line this up. You also do have this piece right here to line up into that hole there. So just want to be real careful putting this on. And you also want to tighten this down equally, so as we thread the bolts back in, we'll go in kind of a star pattern and just make sure it's all torqued down evenly. Also take note, there was alignment dowel pins going through here, so you just want to make sure that they're good, and it should line up nice and flat and flush. Go ahead and run these bolts back in. Okay, so we went through and we tightened all these bolts and we did the star pattern crisscross in order to get it nice and evenly seated, and you can see some of the silicone coming through. So yeah, it looks like it's going to have a nice seal.